guys give a huge round of applause for Steve Burns!
What's up?
Steve Burns, everybody.
Hey. How did the trailer look? Did it look good for Mandalorian? I haven't seen it.
It looks good. It looks really good.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a little late. I was fanboying over Sean Astin. Such a nice dude. He was so cool. He's got kids that watch Blue's Clues. So he talked to me. He's like, hey man, if you need anything, let me know. I'm like, can you carry this piece of jewelry for me back to New York State? And he's gonna, which is great. I'm kidding.
Welcome. We're so excited to have you here.
Hey, how you been? It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. Long time. By the way, I have something to tell you real quickly because I know you really like these stories. Did you hear what happened?
Is this a joke?
No.
Okay.
So this morning, they had the Atlanta Marathon.
Yeah.
And while the marathon was going on, somebody went into the Atlanta Police Department and they stole all the toilets and urinals. Yeah, the detectives have nothing to go on. That's the look I always look for when I tell Steve a joke. It is, guys. So, anywho, we're going to start off with some questions. I'm sorry, I just had to slide one in. Just one joke in there for you, Steve. So we have some Q&A questions here. Let's go ahead and jump into the first question.
Hi,
Hi, what's your name?
Mashawn.
Hi, it's nice to meet you. I'm Steve.
I know. So I was born in January 96. Blue's Clues came out September 96. So I literally don't know a childhood without Blue's Clues. But what I don't know is the history. So how did the show come about and how did you get the job?
Well, the show, thank you for your question. The show was, there was a big study at the University of Massachusetts about why young children, why their attention was so held by television and why kids were so transfixed by TV. And they got really granular about it, right? They got really intense about what were the things that, what are the structural elements of a television show that make it so sticky to a child's attention. And I actually ended up reading that study. It's by Dan Anderson. It's very wonky, but really fascinating stuff. And there's a lot of kids' TV that came out of that study. So the child development specialists who were influenced by that study created all kinds of shows, like Barney came from that study. Teletubbies was another one. And Blue's Clues was one. And I believe, even if I wasn't on that show, I would say that Blue's Clues was by far the most educational
Facts.
of them. Teletubbies sort of took that information, said this is how to maintain a child's attention, but didn't really do much with it. They kind of made MTV for babies, you know.
They bounced around in the grass, ate cookies, spilled stuff on the floor.
They what? I'm sorry?
Teletubbies bounced around in the grass, spilled stuff on the floor, they ate cookies.
It was actually a brilliant show, and I thought really cool looking, but like, it didn't really do anything. Blue's Clues was very much, no, we're going to make this as educational as humanly possible, you know. I wasn't involved in any of that. You know, I was just an actor. You know, I was 22 and I had quit college. I was a sophomore and I took some time off, but I had quit college as a sophomore because I had won a national acting award, right? For being a very, very intense, gritty, Al Pacino-y, dark, pretentious actor, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what I thought I was good at. You know, that's what everyone told me I was good at. So I moved to New York because I had some interest in an agent and a manager and stuff. And Blue's Clues was like the third audition I had.
Wow.
And I gotta tell you, tell me your name again?
Mashawn.
Michelle. Had I known that it was to be on a kid show, I probably wouldn't have gone.
You thought you were the opposite.
I thought it was just gonna be the voice of like a cartoon. I didn't think it was to be the guy on the show. I probably would not have gone to the audition. I probably would have said, there's no way. Not that I would have said, oh no, I don't want to do kids TV. I just would have said, there's no way I'd be any good at that. You know, I'm Al Pacino. And when I got in the room, there was a camera in the room, you know, and I was like, oh no, what will I do? And the script was very like, almost like a game show. It was like, which one is the square? Do you know? You guessed it. Good job. And I was like, oh, no. I'm going to act this so hard, you know? And so, like, if this was too close to the camera,
You would be like,
I was like, here. I was like, yo, which one is the triangle? Do you know? Do you know? Will you help me? You know, like I got really into it. And I remember doing that at the audition and thinking, this is cool. Like there's a thing there. That's something interesting in that. And the creators of the show were kind of looking at me like, what are you doing, man? This is really strange. And they did think it was weird, and it wasn't what they were necessarily looking for. It was definitely quirkier than what they were looking for. And Nickelodeon, the Nickelodeon execs, I actually overheard them saying, like, he's pretty weird, and we would prefer someone more conventionally handsome.
wow.
Yeah, that's what I said. But it eventually came down to, like, me, you know, and a conventionally handsome dude. But the way I got the job was they played the auditions for kids.
You want kids over.
And then they videotaped the kids' responses. And, you know, the hunky guy is like, hey, which one is the triangle? Do you know? Hey, you guessed it. Good job. You know? And the kids were like, over there. There. And then they showed them my video, and I'm like, you must help me. Where is it? I don't know. And the kids were like, we have to help this guy. And like, they went crazy, and they're like touching the screen and crawling over each other. And so they gave me the job, and it was actually you guys that got me the job. So thank you.
Is that footage anywhere on the internet?
What?
Is that footage on the internet of your audition and the kids' reaction?
No. I have a tape of it somewhere, though. I would
Okay.
love it if that was on the internet. But thank you for your question.
Our next question.
Hi, Steve.
Hi. What's your name?
Will.
Nice to meet you.
So basically, my question is, what was it like having to talk to animated objects and not really having much human contact while filming besides like set crew and hair and makeup?
It's a great question. What you're describing was the defining experience for me of Blue's Clues. Blue's Clues was two things to me. There was the public response to Blue's Clues, which I mostly ignored. You know, I was like, what? You know, and then there was my job, my day-to-day job, which was in, like, just imagine a big giant room that's all painted blue, even the floor. So it looked like the bottom of a swimming pool, you know. And you're right, I couldn't see anybody. I couldn't even see the rest of the crew because there were just lights everywhere, and we had to overlight. Back in 1990, whatever, you had to overlight everything in order to make the blue screen thing work at all. So it was a really bright room, right? And all I could see, the only thing I could see, I couldn't see the director. I couldn't see the Magenta's out, by the way. Magenta's like, deuces, I'm leaving. I couldn't see the director. I couldn't really see the other crew members. All I could see was the camera, like that, right? And so for me, Blue's Clues was very small. The experience was very small and very, very personal. It was just a thing that I was doing in a room with a camera. And for me, it was just about this rapport with that lens. And so it always felt super tiny to me. But then there was also the moving bar of invisible soap that I would have to talk to. And that stuff was hard. It was hard to figure out how to do that because, like, if this is Mr. Dasani Bottle, my new friend, you know, and I know from looking at the storyboards and talking to the director that while I'm talking to you, it goes over here and says, yo, Steve, what's up? And then it goes over here and it's like, hey, have you seen any clues? And then it's over here. I have to remember all of that while I'm focusing on the camera and doing other things. And that's really hard. And one thing we learned early on is if this is like moving around on the table and talking to me, you only look at it every now and then. You don't do this. Right, but that's the tendency, that's the temptation, is to kind of overcreate where everything is, you know. But in reality, you don't really do that. So the truth is, when dealing with the inanimate objects, less is actually more, right? But you don't realize that for the first 2 seasons of your kid show, and it took an enormous amount of imaginative output. My imaginer was tired every night. Because I was just constantly trying to create this world, in a sense, for me. I didn't have marks on the floor. We didn't have like little props for me to look at or anything. It was tough, and not just for me. It was tough for the directors as well. And now the new guy has like little cutouts and like things and like people in blue suits. Like, he's got all the cool stuff. But we didn't have any of that, and it was mentally really hard. But by like the 3rd or 4th season, we got pretty ninja about it. Like, we were pretty good at it.
Awesome. Excellent. Next question.
Hey there, how's it going?
Hey, what's your name?
Willow.
That's right. No, that's not your name. Your name is Nova.
It is, that's my nickname, thank you.
Right.
So obviously we all admire you as Steve from Blue's Clues, but over the years we've grown to admire you as a musician too. You mentioned that now you mostly do music for you. So my question is, what would you say to the importance of carving out a space for your passions outside of a commercial sense?
Dang. Well, I don't think it has to be outside of a commercial zone, you know? I think it's possible that there's a Venn diagram between the things that you're passionate about and what your job is. Exactly. I think that's possible. But I would say that's not necessary. You know, that's what I learned. I used to tell you all the time on Blue's Clues, if you use your mind, take a step at a time, you can do anything that you want to do. Anything, right? And I always worried about that message. Because obviously that's a beautiful and empowering message for preschoolers to hear, but it was never meant to be taken entirely literally as an adult, right? There's the laws of thermodynamics, for example, that could preclude you from doing anything you wanted to do. And my favorite piece of fan mail I ever got was from this kid, and it said, "Dear Steve, I want to be a pizza. Love, Scott." You know, it's like, what if Scott took that message seriously and literally into his adulthood? And he's like somewhere in Baltimore, like pouring marinara sauce on himself. Like, Steve said this was possible. I can be a pizza one day. So there was always this idea. I remember it really well, and you're much closer to it than I am, but I remember from being about 14, they were like, you must define your passion right now. Decide what that is. Find that which in the universe which explains you to the world in a way that is deeply meaningful to you. At 14, right? Now, figure out a way to make that your job. And until that happens for you, you've not succeeded. You know, and I think that's just bad advice, frankly. In my experience, that has not been good advice. What I always tell people is, for me, if I had followed my dream, at least what I thought my dream was, I wouldn't have gone to that audition. You know? So I always say, like, look for the things that are dream adjacent, you know, and explore those too and find the value and the meaning. There's a lot of good stuff there. Your life can go into wonderful directions that you wouldn't have expected to, like mine did. But there's a lot of my passion in Blue's Clues, which was dream adjacent, right? I think it is very important to, if you have a passion, you shouldn't feel like you need to have this crazy passion to like sculpt and, you know, weld and do all these like artful things. Like, just whatever it is you enjoy doing, whatever it is that is therapeutic to you, I think it is important to have a practice where you honor that within your life. But I'm not sure that it needs to be your job. Did I even come close to answering?
That was a great answer. Thank you.
That was excellent. So I'm just curious, out of a real quick question, your wardrobe.
What's wrong with my wardrobe? I think I look kind of like a mime today.
You look awesome. When you go onto the set, how many shirts do they have for you in reserve, or because if you spilled on something, or
6 or 7 probably.
6 or 7?
Yeah. Here's the worst thing about that shirt. First of all, it was really. Are you okay? Okay. It was really uncomfortable because it was made of like this itchy wool because of the lights, right? It had to be this oversaturated color. Oh, she's all right. She's cool. But it also just kept coming untucked constantly and would ruin takes for us. It was like, we got to do that again because the shirt came untucked. I was like, can't we do something? So what they did is they made this little flap that would like button like a diaper. And I'll tell you, people always say like, why did you leave Blue's Clues? And there's a million reasons, none of which are bad, but there was one morning when they had just sprayed my hair on in the back, right? And I was standing in front of the mirror in just the shirt with the diaper flaps. And I was like, this is my last season. I think that's enough, you know? We call that thing the crotch goblin.
Amazing. Next question.
Hi,
What's your name?
Esther. I met you twice.
Yes, right. How have you been?
I've been excited. Unrelated, by the way, to the whole generically attractive thing, I found you very generically attractive when I was a child. I'm pretty sure you shaped what I found attractive.
Oh my goodness. Why, thank you.
But my question was, what was the thing or things that really pushed you to put out that video, you know, later in life where you were saying, hey, it's me, Steve, from Blue's Clues back again?
You mean the viral thing that came out like a year
the
and a half ago?
viral thing. What like pushed you to do that?
Well, Blue's Clues was turning 25, right? And they wanted me to come back and like do publicity and stuff. Has anyone ever seen, oh God, it's one of the Rambo movies. I think it's the second Rambo movie where he's like in Tibet in the beginning. And he's like repairing a temple and the colonel from his past shows up and he's like, John, we have a mission for you. We need you to come back in. He's like, I don't do that anymore. That's what it was like. They were like, hey, Steve, Blue's Clues turned 25. Can you come in? I was like, I don't do that anymore. But then I was like, well, what are you doing? That looks fun, you know? and the truth is I was already writing and directing for the reboot of the show and the whole thing. So they were doing a 25th anniversary hoorah, and I was directing a music video, right, with the three hosts. And someone said, you know, and we were just doing little things for their social media, little funny things. And someone said we should each do a message or something. And I was like, oh, hold my beer, you know. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna kick him in the childhood. That's like, I know what to do. And I didn't write it. I improv'd it. You know, I literally just spoke from the heart. There's one producer at Blue's Clues that I love dearly and whose guidance I just admire. And I was like, Siobhan, what if I said something like this and something like this? And then I just said something like this, and she was like, go. And so I did it the first time. I didn't even know what I was going to say, really. You know, all I knew is that I wanted to continue the conversation with you. You know, that's all I knew. That it was just going to be, no, I'm serious, that it was like, we have an opportunity here to how many years later talk to the same people, you know? And Blue's Clues was always about respecting you. You guys were cooler than me. I needed your help, right? So it was always never about condescending. It was always as sincere as I could make it. It's like, why don't we just grow all those parameters up? And I'm just going to talk to you about the things that matter, right? Because what mattered to you then was like, which of these snacks was a graham cracker? You know, and what matters now is student loans and like the pandemic and the level of discourse on the internet and all the stuff that I was thinking about. That was a hard couple of years. That was a really heavy time. So that's just what came out, you know. And the first time I did it, I cried. So we couldn't use that one, right? I was like, just let me do it again. So we did it again, and then everybody else cried. And I definitely wanted to address, because I'll tell you, up until that viral video, whenever I would meet anyone who was a fan of Blue's Clues, overwhelmingly, the thing they would say is, why did you leave me? So I was like, I have to address the elephant in the room, you know. So that's how it came up. It was very simple. Again, just imagine a very quiet set, you know, and it was just a very simple little thing.
Thank you. I'm going to go pretend I'm not crying now.
Okay.
The thing about that video is the children, they watched it. But the parents...
It wasn't for the children.
You know, I mean the children who had grown up.
Yes.
They were watching it now, they're adults. But the parents of those adults who used to watch the show when they had children, they watched that video.
Sure.
And it brought back all that emotions. And
Sure.
it was one of those things that just stopped everybody in their tracks.
Look, it's happening right there.
So,
That's
yeah.
actually really beautiful right there.
So, absolutely. And it was so heartwarming, Steve.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
and that's a rare thing in media generally, I think, that Blue's Clues, I'm really honored to have been a part of, is that it does have this multi-generational thing. I did this all morning yesterday and all day yesterday. Like, you know, I see people are like, I watched you and now my kid watches you. And I'm like, first of all, that means I'm a very old person. Second of all, that's cool. Because we call those in the kids media industry, we call those shows evergreen. And there aren't many of them. There really aren't. There's Reading Rainbow and there's Sesame Street and there's not many. And to think that Blue's Clues is one of those, it's just awesome to me.
It's amazing. All right, next question.
Hey, how's it going, Steve?
What's your name?
My name's Mike, and I'm with SAS Gaming. First, I want to say I am actually that dad who watched you growing up and now has a son that watches new Blue's Clues, so thank you for that.
Didn't we just meet?
We did.
Okay. Hey,
Okay.
how you been?
So my question's kind of a two-part question. So if I kind of heard, like you said earlier, about you kind of didn't even want to audition for Blue's Clues if you would have known that it was a live action. If you would have went a different path and you think you would have not auditioned for Nickelodeon or Nickelodeon didn't pick up Blue's Clues at that point, do you think you would have became someone on YouTube, like making your own channel, doing something you like?
I didn't know. No, I don't. I didn't know that I had this gear, this like hosting sort of clown, mercurial, mischievous, happy jackass boy. Like I didn't know I had that gear. So I don't think I would have discovered it had I not done Blue's Clues. It's been a huge gift in my life, you know. Steve was all about, my recipe for Steve was 80% wonder. He wondered at everything, you know what I mean? That's a great way to spend your life. I think that if I hadn't gotten Blue's Clues, I was getting some traction in the gritty, pretentious acting world. You know, I think I probably would have failed very privately as a really kind of gritty actor that you saw a lot on like crime dramas and in independent films. And,
Yeah.
you know, I think probably that would happen. But the real story of my career, and no one knows this, and I've been telling people about it today, Blue's Clues was my side hustle. Right? Believe me, none of us were doing that show for money. The first couple of seasons, I mean, like, believe me. So what I was really doing during Blue's Clues, and what I did after Blue's Clues, was voiceover stuff, right? This whole place is full of, like, people who do animation voiceovers. I never did that. I did commercial voiceovers. So you all heard me your whole lives. I was the voice of everything forever. Like, you've heard me, like, I was E-Trade and Citibank and, like, all this. I'm currently the guy who says Snickers satisfies. Like,
Nice.
that's the stuff you've been hearing me do forever, and that was always my real job.
Nice. So the second half of the question, or just another question essentially, but is there anybody that you like nowadays that's doing child, either book form, YouTube, Netflix, whatever? Is there any out there, like cartoons or shows that really grab your attention now for that same
I'm
space?
not so much in that world. I've always been an outsider to the world. I think that was very much by design. I was always approaching children's television from a not insider place, and I think that's kind of why it worked. From the classics, I'm a Frank Oz fan, but now I just saw some of Bluey, and it was really funny. And that's a good show. What Angela Santamero did with Daniel Tiger was great. I guess that's not new. I don't really watch that much children's media.
It's fair. I do.
Yeah, what do you like? What do you like?
So right now, my son loves Blippi. Blippi's like pretty much Blue's Clues 2.0, but on YouTube.
Yeah, I saw Blippi. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
See, that's...
Well, you said Bluey or Blippy?
Bluey is what I liked.
Okay, yeah, Bluey is also really good. I really enjoy. He also enjoys Bluey. I think parents also enjoy Bluey more than the kids sometimes. But yeah, cool. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Perfect. Oh, look at this.
You look great. I know, totally. Right? That's what I'm saying.
So my name is Blue. No, I'm kidding. It's really Dominique.
Okay.
First, I just wanted to say, I wanted to address that video. As soon as I saw you, I started crying.
Yeah.
I'm sure, like, everybody else in here can relate to that. We've, already talked about that. But I just wanted to let you know that it was very inspiring and touching to me. So, yeah. But my question is...
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Oh, of course. I'm trying to settle a debate with my friends because it's... You can't hear me?
It's just she says she's trying to set up a debate with her friends.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, because it's been several years since I've seen Blue's Clues. I'm going to be 32 this year, if that says anything. From what I remember, Magenta was a boy, right?
No.
No, he was never a boy?
No, neither of them were boys.
What? This is such a Mandela effect thing. Okay, well, I guess I lost the bet.
Sounds like that. Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't have a more in-depth question or anything. I'm just really happy to be here to see you because you were really like a pivotal point in my childhood. I literally used to beg my mom to take me to Steve's house so I could play with Blue, and she always said no, but she didn't really like animals.
In fairness to your mother, that would have been impossible.
Yeah. Yes, I understand that now, but still that would have been really cool.
Yeah, it would have been cool.
I honestly think like Blue's Clues really jump-started my love for dogs. I absolutely love dogs. I have the cutest puppy. Her name is Lily.
Go get her.
And I'm obsessed with her. So thank you for...
Well, thank you. And I'm sorry if it was unclear, but Blue was a girl and Magenta was also a girl.
Yeah, I don't know where I heard that. Periwinkle?
Periwinkle was a dude.
Periwinkle was a dude. Okay.
Green Puppy's a dude.
Thank you very much for your question.
Thank you.
While we're getting ready for our next question, I want to ask something real quickly. Of all the different characters, we have to remove Blue from this question. Who is your favorite to interact with?
Blue wasn't even close to my favorite, man. Blue would be like, I'd be like, hey, Blue, here's a simple question. And she'd be like, bow, bow, bow. Like, ha ha, here's 24 minutes of puzzles, you know. My favorite character on the show was Mr. Salt. Because Salt and Pepper were kind of like the de facto adults in the house. And Mr. Salt was a befuddled male figure in the house, and so was I. He was always wrong. He was the only character that was allowed to be stressed out about things. He had the most depth. He's like, oh, Steve, come to the kitchen. I've done terrible things, you know. And the dude who played Mr. Salt wrote most of the music for Blue's Clues. And Mailbox and Mr. Salt were the musicians on Blue's Clues. And those guys, you know, I was an actor. I was a pretentious theater guy, you know, and I came from the snobby art world, right? When I was on that show, and I was surrounded by child development specialists, brilliant child development specialists, right? But they were not art people. They were not humor theater people, music people. So I gravitated to the musicians, and we were pals and friends. And I just adore the dude to this day who played Mr. Salt. When we did we had a Blue's Clues movie, and there was a premiere in New York, and I took Mr. Salt as my date because I hadn't seen him in 15 years, you know. But he's really good in that movie too. But my second favorite character was Side Table Drawer, because she was like this overlooked little thing, and she was always shy. But the girl who played her had this fierce singing voice and was like this little fireball. And I just loved, I loved the introverted character, because that's what I am in real life, right? I'm very introverted and very shy in environments like this, you know? And so I just related to that one, that sweet little introvert that had so much to give, you know? I liked that character.
Excellent. Okay, next question.
Hi, Steve. I'm Matthew. I just wanted to say, particularly Blue's Clues, and many people here, of how much you have impacted all of our lives. How did you feel emotionally when you passed down the torch to somebody else?
It was weird. It's a great question. Thank you. The first time I passed it down to my brother Joe, whose real name is Donovan, by the way. I got to tell you that all three of us are actual friends, right? We hang out. Donovan and I especially are close. He took care of me when I got COVID, right? When I was ready to go at that point, you know, so I was excited to pass the torch down to Donovan, because I also loved him so much. And he did his audition as Christopher Walken, for example. And I just thought he was such a cool human being, and he really is. I felt good about that. You know, I was like, I will help you however you need, young Padawan. You know, I'm here for you. You've got this. Goodbye. When it came time to find Josh, they asked me to come back. And I think I annoyed him so much because I couldn't stay away. I was like, whoa, you gotta do it like this. And then like, here, let me do it for you. Let me show you. You know, and I would do it, you know, and they'd be like, writing episodes for me. I was like, and then Steve shows up and eats a cookie because it's his house. You know, so it was a little harder for me, to be honest, with Josh than with Joe. Because I'm just like, hey, this is kind of my dog, isn't it? All right, fine. You know, you do you. A whole new generation can like you and not know who I am. That's fine. But yeah, I was a little bit more possessive about Josh, and also because Josh is so much cooler than Donovan and I. He's like a Blue's Clues host that unlocked a cheat code. Like he can sing and dance, and he does Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and he's like this awesome person. And Donovan and I are like,
Awesome.
So there you go.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, guys. So it looks like we have time. We have time for one more question.
Oh, I've talked too much. I'm sorry,
No,
guys.
you're fine. But it doesn't mean it has to end here, because after this, he's going to go back to his table in Celebrity Row, and you can meet with him, and he can talk with you, get an autograph, and the stories can continue on down there. So here we go for our final question.
It's cool. I'm a big talker too, but
I'm a big talker too.
I'm a big talker too. Yeah, there you go. That's what I said. But early 2000s, late 90s, there were a lot of other kids shows coming out. Was there ever a rivalry, a burning hatred? You saw Dora Explorer cast coming down the door. You just give them that mean glare, that little Rocky look, with hatred and dread.
There's no hatred ever for any of it. There was a lot of kids shows. I developed opinions about what makes good kids TV, and there was a lot of what I would consider good kids TV that I didn't prefer, like Barney, for example. That show gets a lot of grief from adults because it's sort of unwatchable as an adult from a certain perspective. But what I didn't prefer about something like Barney, and even Dora the Explorer to a degree, was that those characters were of only one dimension, right? I'm gonna be happy forever, and that's all it'll ever be. And the face never changes, it is literally a mask, right? So you get one note with Barney. Same with Dora. Do a thing, do another thing, yay! That's it, right? And to me, that lacks a human element. I always used to say on Blue's Clues, it needs to be more Bert than Ernie. Because Bert was broken, right? There's something wrong with Bert, right? Same with Grover, same with Cookie Monster, right? These characters had flaws. And that makes them human. That makes them relatable. And I think if you're only presenting, yay, to kids, they might respond to that, but not in the same way that if you are approaching them as an actual human being. And if Blue's Clues was about creating a real conversation between human beings, I felt like I had to be more of a human being than that. So I've never been creative. Someone talked about Blippi earlier. That's not my thing, I'm not saying it's bad children's television, but it's not what I would do,
Thank you. I can now write my 10-page essay on the character flaws of Bert and Ernie.
You could, actually. They're insecure. Grover, for example, is very insecure. Yeah.
You guys, can you give a huge, huge round of applause for Steve? Absolutely, standing ovation, wonderful, guys. Now, if you want to, you go down. He's gonna be back at his table for about another hour, right, or so?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. I really appreciate it.
One more time, guys, a huge round of applause for Steve Burns.
You watched that whole video. Lucky you. You should subscribe to it or something. It makes you smart, like me. So have Fandom and follow your fun. Oh, and shut up and take my videos.